Hi class, this is lecture 2 of the muscular system. Today we're going to be discovering the overview of muscle tissues. So as you copy this, listen. If you need to pause it and go back to it. If you need to rewind, that's fine. Just make sure that you get it all. So today we're just doing the overview of muscle tissues. So muscles make up approximately 40% of your entire body mass. So almost half of your body is made up of muscles. The characteristics of these muscles, we all know that there's more than one type of muscle. You learned when we did the histology lab that you have skeletal muscle, you have smooth muscle, and you have cardiac muscle. And in this chapter, we're mainly going to be covering the skeletal and the smooth muscles. So skeletal muscles and smooth muscles, their cells are very elongated. They're kind of spindle-shaped. So when we say spindle-shaped, basically, you know, it's kind of like pointy on each end, like that, and then there will be a nuclei. Sometimes they're multinucleated, which means they have more than one nucleus, but one muscle cell equals one muscle fiber. Your contraction of muscles is due to the movement of microfilaments, and those microfilaments are made of myofibrils. So those microfilaments, those are what actually causes your muscles to contract as your nerves or your brain sends impulses to those nerves and those neurons fire. Those microfilaments are the ones that are actually moving. Now, all muscles share some terminology. So if you see the prefix myo or mis, it refers to muscle. So, you know, what are some things that you've learned so far? You know that myology is the study of muscles, right? So if you see the prefix sarco, sarco refers to actual flesh. Now flesh is like, if you think about like chicken, when you eat chicken, like a chicken leg or chicken thigh, chicken breast, the flesh is that meaty part that you are eating. That is actual muscle. But the term sarco refers straight to the flesh. So here we're looking at the 3 different types of muscles. These are the same that we talked about during our lab. So you need to make sure that you know the anatomy of the skeletal muscle, which is color sheet number 1. We're going to go over that in just a minute. You need to know your body locations of each of the 3 types of skeletal or of muscle tissue, and you need to know the cell shape and the appearance. So let's start first with your skeletal muscle. Now we know that skeletal muscle is the type of muscle that is going to attach to the bones. Some of those are going to be your facial muscles, and some of them are actually attached to skin, just depending on which muscle we're talking about. But these skeletal muscles are they're single, very long, cylindrical cells that are multinucleated. Remember, the word multinucleated means more than one nucleus. So more than one nucleus is multinucleated cells, and they have very obvious striations. If you remember back to the histology lab and you were looking in the microscope, I told you that it almost looks like somebody put a fingerprint over the slide, and that's what you're seeing. These little lines here that are going down, they're kind of wavy, but all of those lines, those are striations in the muscle. Your next type of muscle that we're going to talk about is cardiac muscle. You know that cardiac muscle is found in the walls of the heart. They are branching chains of cells. So as you can see here, they kind of branch out. They're not just a single line that is like the skeletal muscle. They branch out. They are uninucleate, which means they only have one nucleus. They do still have striations, and then they have what we call intercalated discs, which are these things that run along the muscle. Our third type of muscle that we're going to talk about is going to be your smooth muscle. Your smooth muscle is mostly in the walls of hollow organs, other than the heart. So your stomach, your digestive tract, your esophagus, any organ that is hollow. They are single fusiform uninucleated cells with no striations. So they look almost like hair underneath the microscope. See how they're very They all run in the same direction. They only have one nucleus. They're single fibers, unlike the branching chains in the cardiac. So both smooth and skeletal are considered the single. They don't branch off. They run in a straight line. Okay, so let's talk about the muscle fibers. Muscle fibers are the individual cells. You can see here that you're going to have more than one muscle cell that makes up a whole bundle. So you've got muscle cell, muscle cell, muscle cell, muscle cell. All of these are going to make up a bundle. Okay? That bundle we call a fascicle, and it's wrapped in your perimysium. You've got perimysium and endomysium. Some people call them paramecium, endomysium. It just depends on how you want to pronounce it yourself. But the fascicle is wrapped in the paramysium. So this is the bundle, and then you can see here how the paramysium is actually, where it's pointing to, and it's going around. Your epimysium wraps around your muscle and the bundles. Then, of course, you've got your tendons that are connecting your muscle to your bone, and here's your bone. So you need to look at this color sheet. If you don't have this color sheet, you need to make sure that you get it at this time. We're going to be going over what each individual part is, and you can color it as I talk about it. So if you don't have this color sheet, you need to go get it right now. You can also print it off of the website. It's on there. Ta-da! I have completely colored this for you. So let's talk about it. First of all, what I need you to do is I need to make sure that you go ahead and write what the sarcolemma is and what the sarcoplasm is. Remember, there's that sarco word, it means flesh. So your cell membrane of your muscle cells is called the sarcolemma. The sarcoplasm is the actual cell cytoplasm of your muscles. Your muscles are bathed in fluid within and without. So make sure that you understand that sarcolemma is the cell membrane of the muscle cell. Sarcoplasm is the cell cytoplasm of the muscle cell. Okay, now let's talk about what the tendon is. We're going to be looking at the tendon. Your tendon is here on the end. It's labeled A on your paper, and remember that your tendon connects your bone, the bone would be over here, to your muscle, okay, or the muscle to the bone, okay. After that, we're going to be doing the epimysium, which is letter B. If you look here, okay, you can see it colored. Now, you've got your epimysium in your muscle belly. You need to know the difference, okay? The belly of the muscle is actually the part that's the widest, okay? W-I-D-E-S-T, widest. So you can see that it is spanning this area here. The epimysium is the part that covers it. So the way that I colored it was this. I actually colored the belly first, and that's this outside color is what I colored the belly. You can see that there. So your epimysium is going to be blue. So if you look here, it is only going to be this part here that goes around the very, very outside. So that is your epimysium. The next part is going to be your perimysium, which is your muscle bundle, and I colored that kind of a purplish color. So you can see that your perimysium, it covers the outside here, and it covers each of these individual bundles that are made up of other bundles of muscle cells. So that's your perimysium. And you can label your paper like I have my paper labeled, where I have the tendon and the belly and the epimysium, perimysium bundle, cell fiber. you can label yours just like this. It may be easier for you when you're tested on it if it's done like this. So our next part is going to be our blue part, which is your endomysium, which is your muscle fiber. You can see that I've colored all of those. It goes right around each individual bundle of your muscle cells. And then once again down here. Okay? So you've got your endomysium. And that's this color here. And then all of the blue that goes around the other bundles. Your last part is going to be your myofibril. Remember, your myofibril is the actual cell of the muscle. So you can see all of the little dots in there are your myofibrils. You can see them all in the middle of the endomysium. And then once again here, you can see that they're all in here. And then lastly, at the very, very tip where it comes out there, you can see that that is also your myofibril, the one that is extending out. So on this, not only do you need to know all of the labels, but you also need to know sarcolemma and sarcoplasm. The last part of this lecture for today, we're going to talk about the muscle functions. You have 4 general functions of your muscles. First off, it produces movement. That's the number one thing that muscles are made for. It's made so that it can move your skeleton from one point to another. Your second point is it maintains your posture. So freeze right where you are now and just kind of do a mental check of how you're sitting. Are you sitting slumped over? Are you leaning back in your chair? What does your posture look like? I can almost guarantee you that if you are not sitting straight up, that probably your muscles in your back are not very strong, because you'll get tired really fast if you sit up for a while. But if you have good posture, if you sit up and you sit like you're supposed to, it's going to maintain that correct posture. Now, when you don't have good posture, you have all sorts of things happen. Number one, you're going to have neck issues because your head is coming forward. We see more and more of neck issues, neck muscle issues because of texting, because of video games, because of the iPads, because of the laptops, because you're doing more looking down than in previous history, in previous human history. So we see more and more neck and upper back issues coming out because of the way that we're sitting. So just be aware of your posture. Your third muscle function is it stabilizes your joints. If you're weak, if you have muscles that are really weak, you're going to probably have more joint issues. For example, someone who's used to running a lot, they're going to have really strong muscles around their knees and their ankles and their hips, and they're not going to have as many problems with those joints. If you're not very active and you're not moving around very much, then those are going to be your people who tend to have more knee injuries. They twist their ankles more often. Their hips may hurt, and all of your other muscles as well. But those are the main weight-bearing joints. So the more you work out, as long as you're doing it in a healthy fashion, the more your joints are going to be protected. The fourth function of muscles is it generates heat. If you notice, whenever you get cold, you'll get goosebumps, you'll start shivering. When you shiver, it's generating heat because it's causing friction between your muscles, or between your little myofibrils and your muscle bundles. They're going to rub against each other when you're shivering, and it's going to produce a little bit of body heat. So that's basically why your body does that, to maintain homeostasis whenever your body core temperature may be dropping down. So this is all of the lecture for today, for this section. So make sure that you have it all copied. Make sure that you study it. We will be having a test on this soon.